500 years ago, he washed ashore the sole survivor of a shipwreck. And upon the skull of the man who killed his dad, he said, I'm mad, I must eradicate piracy, injustice and cruelty, and all my sons will follow me, so evildoers will believe that this man cannot die.
The Phantom,
the ghost who walks.
The Phantom,
enemies beware, the Phantom's always there, but you won't mind the Phantom. He finds you.
G'day everyone, and for those who came in late, you're listening to Expand, the Phantom podcast. We're up to episode 90, believe it or not, and it's another special interview edition. We're very lucky today to be talking to a publisher of the Phantom. Not too many times we get that opportunity, but before we bring him in, I should let everybody know, of course, my name's Dan Fraser, and today I am joined by Jermaine Parker. How are you, Jermaine?
Pretty good, mate. Seeing it's a special, I'm guessing Stephen's not joining us.
I'll just, I'll throw to Stephen now. Stephen? No, Stephen?
No, Stephen.
As it always happens.
It's almost like, when was the last special guest we had where Stephen actually joined us?
I can't even remember anymore. We're developing. We should know. We should just make it in writing. When special guest joins, Stephen may not join the podcast. Old ChronicleChamber saying.
Yes, poor Stephen. He's missed out on some views, but we've got a couple coming up that which we won't talk about too much now. But we've got a couple which we have to let him join in because one's a personal hero of his, so we have to let him join that one. Actually, no, the last one would have been the King.
Where you missed. So
yeah, I missed it. So that was my last special guest.
Yeah. Anyway, poor old Stephen. Good on you, Stephen. Whatever it is you're doing, I don't even know why you can't join us tonight, but you can't. So, just because of the old Chronicle Chamber saying. Anyway, we're waffling, and now we really should. We've got him on the line. We should bring him in. We're joined today, as I said, by a publisher of the Phantom. It's a publisher that probably is not on everybody's radar, but it should be because the stuff that they're producing is really good quality. And we've featured them on the website before, and we've talked about them in the podcast. It's the Lightning Strike comic books, publisher Eoin McAuley, coming all the way from Ireland. How are you, Owen?
Hey, how are things? Well, good. Thanks very much for having me on. It's great to be here and talk over as well. Been listening to the podcast before. First came and introduced to you guys back when we were doing the 80th anniversary, and the whole Chronicle Chamber website as well. It's a great resource as well for all the fans. Particularly for us over in Dublin, because our history with the Phantom would very much go back to the likes of the Evening Herald newspaper strips that used to reprint it, and the Sunday Independent, and then we had the Billy Zane film, and we had the Phantom 2040 series as well, animated, but we didn't have much more exposure to the character in like recent years, and then literally starting out with the 80th anniversary, finding you guys was great because it really put us in touch with the fan base, particularly in Australia, which is great because that was something that was we didn't we were long time fans of the character and fans of comic books in general as well, but we didn't realise how popular Phantom actually was in Australia until we were introduced to you guys, which is great. Any place where you can find pockets of fandom like that, it's super.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm pleased that we were able to help you out, help you out there a little bit. You know, we do what we do because we love it, and if there's someone who's benefiting from that, then so much the better. It is unusual too, because I think as Phantom fans, we know that it's an American-born character, and we know that he's super popular in Australia and Scandinavia and India. We don't think about Ireland as being a Phantom-loving country too much.
Yeah, well, it was kind of dead way it goes, particularly with all sorts of media is who we deal with via the agent for the King Feature Syndicate, and they represent the Phantom property here in Ireland and the UK. And going forward, what we've been doing the last while has been dealing with the Phantom for an Irish audience. Now, hopefully going forward in the future, it would be Ireland and the UK encompassing that. But it's he's definitely there. We know him mostly from, let's say, Defenders of the Earth, the animated series, and as I said, the Billy Zane film, but he's definitely there to the forefront of like if you're a hardcore comic book reader here, because we have a huge comic book community in Ireland, and a lot of artists and writers have gone on to work for Marvel and DC, and of course, if you any interest in even just the basics of Superman and Batman, you're going to come across the Phantom, because he was very much the template for those characters. And I literally just in the office this morning, I was talking to David Williams, who's my collaborator as well and editor on the series, and he was just saying, like, we were just saying how like it's bizarre how with regards to recognition, like Lee Falk and the Phantom just does not seem to be up there, with what he really deserves. I even seen just this morning on Facebook like a signed like a typed Lee Falk script with original sketch and all, and like for the amount was being offered, like if that was anything to do with any of the other characters, he'd be almost a second mortgage on someone's home. It boggles the mind, in some cases how fandom, just operates, and like we owe so much to the character, with all the other characters that are out there at the moment,
Yeah. So would your comic industry be more heavily influenced by the UK market or by the US market?
Well, actually, it's a very good point. What I often say is, we're situated, we're between the US and the UK, so I think it's a nice blend of both, and we're also in Europe, so we have the European comic influence as well. So with regards
to the best of everything.
Yeah, pretty much it's a good melting pot. Like definitely, like I know people who have done a lot of work for 2000 AD, and as you know, in the 80s, the US really drew a lot of the UK creative team. You had like Alan Grant, Alan Moore, a lot of the Judge Dredd guys, all being brought over to DC, like Dave Gibbons and David Lloyd. A lot of them managed to find work and popularity in the US as well from the UK. So with Ireland, what we've noticed is there's a lot of good conventions. We have like Dublin Comic Con, which would be like one of the biggest shows, and that's caters to about like the hardcore comic fans, but also to the cosplayers and just the general hobbyists who have an interest in comic book culture. But we used to have a show as well called Dice, which was operated by the Big Bang Comics out in Dundrum, and they used to bring over a lot of editors from big labels to do portfolio reviews, and a lot of people like Will Sliney, for example, who does a lot of the Marvel stuff as well. He does like Spider-Man 2099 for Marvel. Like he was able to network and stuff for his series and his work via these shows. So a lot of them in recent years I've noticed migrate over to, not physically, but they a lot of the work migrates over to the US for the bigger publishers,
That's fascinating, and we've already delved into probably more than Jermaine and I were expecting to find out about Irish comic history and that sort of thing. As a fandom-based, podcast, and with our listeners, you've already mentioned the 80th anniversary Tales of the Ghost Who Walks comic book that you guys brought out in 2016. The Scarlet Sapphire is the second fandom comic book which you guys brought out in 2017. Now, I did give Owen a heads up. We were going to ask him this straight up because it's the question that is on every Australian fan's lips. I'm getting excited. Jermaine and I are lucky enough to have read a PDF copy of the Scarlet Sapphire, but we're constantly getting asked, and I'm sure you are too, by Australian fans, where is the comic book and when can these fans read it? Because it's been out for 6 or 7 months now, it's been published, and still hasn't quite got to Australia. So
it's shot through now in the last while, to just like that, first off, I've really got to send like a heartfelt thanks and apologies to Rennie White as well, who was helping to bring over the books to Australia, and he supported the 80th anniversary as well. And like, he's an absolute gent, and he's been very supportive, very kind, and extremely patient with it. What essentially happened was the last time we sent books, originally we didn't anticipate international orders for the 80th anniversary, because that was actually the 80th anniversary book that we did. We intended that to be solely a con exclusive, sold exclusively at Dublin Comic Con. And it was actually when Rennie contacted us and we spoke, we referred back to King Features, we got permission that we sent it. And I believe we sent that separate from the publisher, the printer, because we print over in the UK with specialist printing called UK Comics Creative Limited. And so we sent that, and there was a slight delay, but wasn't anything too significant. I think it went by DHL. This time what we did was we had the main launch event which we did like an open launch event gallery in Dublin City, and we put some stuff up there on Facebook back during the launch. And we offered people the opportunity if they wanted to get some of the posters and prints that we hung up on the wall, as well as order the books. And so this is our first time shipping the books ourselves over to Australia, which we had done before in a smaller package, because sometimes Rennie would order an autographed one. And when we sent it over, things went AWOL, and we contacted like on post, and I usually send things by tracker post. And this is where it just got so bizarre. In Australia and Canada, they highlighted as the two countries. The customs are very strict that anything can get stopped, even a letter. So when we sent it over, we sent the package over, and what happened was, particularly the prints that we sent over, which people were able to order through some of the fan Facebook pages separately, they got held up, and no tracking information in Ireland was coming up for it. But we have the code, but it wouldn't show. And on Australia, I sent the tracker to Rennie, because I assumed Australia then would be able to follow the tracker, and they weren't able to provide it either. And so feedback to us then was, I would call up on Post, which is the Irish Postal Service, and they essentially said you've got to fill in, I think the form's called an M28, to deal with customs in order to relocate. And they said there's no more information that will be passed until this form and process does. So it just got lost in the bureaucracy. So what I've since done, we had a couple of issues as well with other countries shipping, but we managed to resolve a lot of them at the moment. We have one guy, I think it's Howard in America, if he's listening. Hello.
Yes.
We're going to send, and we have his copies. And what happened with his situation there was there was a storm, I think, over where he was living, and there was a storm at the time. And when that was over, there was a storm over and on. We had like our first hurricane storm, which the whole country went to a standstill. Thankfully, it didn't cause any infrastructure issues, but it seemed to cause some delays along the way. So that was just bad luck, and we're resending him his copies as well. But with the Australians then, what happened was, it's just something that got lost in bureaucracy. So what I faced to do was I'm reproducing some of the content as well. I've managed to secure some of the original stuff as well. I think I managed to secure all the signed copies I managed to get by the artist Rob Carey as well for Australia, but also ordered the signed copies. And I literally have cartons and envelopes here now, and I have a courier coming in on Monday to send out. So today's date is the 3rd of February. So by hook or by crook, I'm going to get even if I have to get onto a plane myself at this stage, I'm determined to get these books over there. But what we've done is we traditionally are just like printers and publishers, and we're also very much an indie publisher, which means we're, an indie publisher is usually recognized. A publisher that has, less than $1 million in assets, prints a lot of the material themselves, and a very small press. So we're very much used to going to shows and traveling to shows and physically bringing the books with us. Not so much with distribution. So the distribution infrastructure, we're very much developing ourselves at the moment. But what we have done, and is exciting, and we can talk a bit about it later on as well, is we actually have got our first international publication and translation of Scholar Sapphire happening this year. So so someone's actually buying it and printing a DOF version for the country. So going forward, to save my own stress levels and to accommodate the fans more, if we can do more where I'm able to sell the PDF to publishers, pre-existing publishers, or even just locate local printers that'll be able to print and distribute 100%, I'm going to try and entertain more of that. But that said, a lot of the shops, Big Bang Comics in Dundrum and Dublin City Comics, who I really have to give a huge shout out to the guys at Dublin City Comics, being staunch supporters from the beginning, have helped stock the book here in Dublin as well, and have also very kindly, if anyone wants to order internationally, they can contact either Dublin City Comics or Big Bang Comics, and they've been able to post and send out copies as well to international orders. So going forward, I might just not handle direct international distribution, but guys can still do it, either by contacting us to see if they can push the PDF, or if they're a publisher, and we can do that via King Features and the representatives, or they can contact either the retailers here in Dublin and purchase their copies that way. Because again, shops for us, myself and Dave, as outside of Light and Strike Comics, we work with Pulse College, which is a video game and animation college, and what we do is a lot of our 9-to-5 job is very much academic, and we're doing like full-time classes, so we haven't got as much hands-on with setting up a distribution network. Publishing and content-wise, we have down to a T. Distribution is something we're currently growing at the moment. But if any interested distributors are listening into this and would like to know more, like, we're happy for someone to come up and lend us a hand with their expertise, and provide a good product to them as well. So yeah, that's the situation. So the main thing is, I also went on record as well on Facebook and just say, like, I'm giving my personal guarantee for all these comics to find a way. So if you have ordered in a copy, you don't have to worry about it never appearing. It will get there. And we've had a few late people as well contact us who got their copies late, but have eventually got to them. So yeah, it's just unfortunately just the nature of the business, and it's something as well as a fan I've experienced. The frustrations, particularly when you order something through the US Comics or Diamond. Sometimes it might be cancelled or what's the other word, reallocated, resubmitted another date and stuff. So it's just it's the first time I'm experiencing it though on this side of the table, as the publisher, and suddenly like all my nearby rants of a book being late, I'm suddenly saying, okay, now I understand the situation. But yeah, I can like 100% guarantee to everyone, like, not to panic. You'll get there, and trust me, I would like to think it is. I know it was a very long way. I like to assure everyone that it is hopefully going to be worth the wait for them as well to see it, because I think we really struck with the Scarlet Sapphire, which we did as a standalone commercial entity. I really think we struck a good quality with the book.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, as someone who, because you were sending me a bunch of the prints, and I was going to pass them around to people here in Australia, and so I hope that those people are listening to this and realising that I didn't get the prints, and I'm not just sitting on them.
And actually, let me just say, with regards to the prints, some will be reissued. I'm going to get as much of them signed as I possibly can for you guys as well. And if I have some extra bonus material, because we used to have invites to the gala night, I used to do a special invitation which I printed off as a parchment with the Phantom signs and stuff like that, badges and postcards. I'm going to include that into the packages, so there'll be extra stuff for anyone who ordered stuff as a way as an apology as well. As much goodies as I can, I'm going to cram into that. So.
Oh, good on you.
No, that's very good.
And
Thank you.
I hope the whole thing hasn't cost you, because you've talked about reproducing and reprinting. That sort of thing. I hope it hasn't cost you guys too much and set the company back at all.
Well, a cost would be incurred in things like this, but I will be following through with on post and the paperwork and stuff, and I'm sure there are measures for this to be reimbursement for those who are at fault. So I'm sure I can resolve that. And again, as I say to a lot of fans, we have one guy as well in India who ordered in some copies. As I say, like, it is just life in general, and it's a learning experience for all. And unfortunately, like, the Phantom fandom seem to be more the generous and respectful and patient one that's out there as well, so which is great. So it's, at the end of the day, there's a real sense of community, particularly in Australia, and it's great. It's a pleasure to be doing business from my end with you guys, and everyone seems to understand it. And sure, like, as a publisher, we want to get the books out there, so we have nothing to gain by these delays. So it's just trying to figure out the resolution and the best way to do it. And we know going forward, like, I probably use private ship, because some people I promise to send stuff via DHL afterwards. Then sometimes that would cost too much for the quantity that's going out. But we figure out we will get there in the end, and it's all it's a learning experience. And for this is book one, it's better to do it all at the start. As I say to the students, it's better to make the mistake and learn rather than having to panic, and just learn from your mistakes going forward.
No, that's good. I think one of the reasons why Australians are generally patient and stuff like what you're talking about is probably because we're used to getting the raw end in Australia, and as fans as well. So I think that's probably got a lot to do with it. So thank you for answering a lot of those questions and being honest with us regarding that. I'm sure every fan who has either ordered through you or pre-ordered through Fan's Vault is very excited about that. So thanks for giving us about that. So
no problem.
I guess that's out of the way. Let's get on to some more exciting stuff, eh?
Yeah. Well, I'd like to ask, actually, Owen, the way you talked right at the start there about the fandom being the first comic strip hero, and the respect that you showed for the character there. I mean, it's obvious that you personally are a fan. As I said before, it's It's not common over in Ireland. How did you become a fan, and what brought you into the fandom world?
Yeah, so for me, with the character, I think it was the animated series in the 90s, the Future Phantom 2040, that introduced me to the character. And like, I remember watching that, and it was really interesting because you found out much later that the Marvel comic version of it was illustrated by Steve Ditko from Marvel at one stage. And that was fascinating because he had the big falling out with Stan Lee and Marvel, and he still went back in like the 90s and did that. So that was real interesting. I found out much later. And now going back and looking at some of the repeats, you do see like a Ditko-esque style to it, because the Phantom seems to be a lot more, I suppose, lanky than he could be in most interpretations in that version. But then it was also the Billy Zane film. Was also a real good family, favorite. I remember watching that and being really entertained. And then following from that, it's just like just a hunger to find out more from the character. So there used to be, back issues in Ireland. There were some shops that dealt with them. There used to be shops in Crow Street and Temple Bar that used to do it. The guys in Dublin City Comics now have back issues in the second shop now on Capel Street. And we used to go down.
So what back issues would they be?
For us, sometimes it would be Defenders of the Year would be some of the early ones, because again, we get mostly American, like Marvel-based ones, and also we used to run some of the newspaper strips, and some of the news. I think the Evening Herald used to run them, and particularly in the I think it was the Irish Independent and the Evening Herald. And what's interesting is that unfortunately they're no longer being run as newspaper strips here. But this Spider-Man newspaper strip is still being run here, and that was quite interesting because Alex Saviuk, who you guys might, I think I'm pronouncing his, hopefully I'm pronouncing, sorry Alex, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. He also has a strong connection to the Phantom, and he illustrates the Spider-Man strip, and hopefully we'll be collaborating with Alex in the near future as well. On a future project. So
nice. So just for the record, it was the Evening Herald, the Irish Independent, which did dailies from 1963 to 1969, and the Sunday Independent, which did the Sundays from 1948 to 1971.
Yeah, that's the one. And we find a lot of these. I used to do work experience and all in the National Library, and like these newspapers would be an archive. And now it's so much easier because the daily strips are available online now, so every day I'm able to get the daily strips and follow that quite easily. So, which was great, and it was what really kicked it up a ramp was, for me, I was sitting down at how the 80th anniversary came about was I was sitting around one day and I was thinking to myself, I want to do something for the 80th anniversary for Dublin Comic Con. So I want to do something for the Dublin Comic Con that year, not the 80th anniversary, what am I saying? I wanted to do something, and it turned out to coincide with the 80th anniversary of the character, but I didn't realise that. But the previous year, I think it must have been 2015, we had done The Life and Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. What happened was my company, Light and Strike, was very much an indie publisher, and we used to do indie IPs. So what we published was, we owned none of the content that we published. We just, the company was benefiting from profit of sales of the book after, the creators, if we made much past, we basically recouped costs, and anything that went into profit then was shared with the creators. And if the creators wanted to take their own IP and do anything else with it, they were fully entitled to. So it was very much just an indie-based project. But I wanted to see what it'd be like if we used a licensed property, and we were very much collaborating with Dublin Comic Con quite a bit. So I contacted the Arthur Conan Doyle estate and the license holders for the series, and suddenly I was able to do, Sherlock Holmes, and that was our first example of a licensed property. And then the following year, then I was thinking, wouldn't it be great if we could do, a DC, a Marvel, or some known superhero? And what happened was, along my travels, I discovered Kingfisher Syndicate, and I made contact with them with regards to the Phantom, because I remember the Phantom from the animated series. I remember from Defenders of the Earth, from the reprint comics from the 90s as well. I think it was the 90s, the 80s. I would have got them as second-hand comics anyway, for definite. But I just remember the character and the fondness for him, and wanting to know more. So they put me in contact with All Sorts Media in the UK, who we then discussed the possibility of doing something for the Phantom's 80th anniversary. So what happened then, that really kicked it up a notch, and then suddenly I just went, anything that was Phantom related, just kind of went looking for more information. And what was really interesting was I went to the local comic shop, Dublin City Comics, and said, order me in from the Diamond catalogue the latest Phantom stuff that's there. And at the time, he could only find one Phantom comic available, which was, I think it was a Dynamite comic.
Yep.
And I think it was the one with, I don't think it was King's Watch, but it was a spin-off possibly from it, where Lothar is the Phantom.
Yes.
Yeah, King or something, I think it was. I think it was King.
Yeah, that's the one. And I remember reading it, I was like, and even the cover was very, bland. It was just Lothar sitting on on the throne. I was just like, for looking to see what was happening, to me, just to find like more recent modern comics, they just seemed a bit, bland. So I just wanted something to compare to. So we dug into more, and then we found contact with you guys, and I used to speak with fans online, and I really just like anything that was available, the wikis and so on and so forth, and just really delve into the mythology. And like, for example, what I was never fully aware of until we started the 80th anniversary was about never presenting the Phantom's face without a mask or being covered up or something. So that was something that we weren't as aware of. And some of the people who were working on it, they only knew from it was so funny when we did the opening call for the Phantom 80th anniversary. So many people just knew from the movie. It was evident in the pictures I was getting because I got so many magic ring references and lasers.
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't go down that path.
Yeah, no, a couple of things came up on Asgard, but I was very much like, for us, let's say I'll be more familiar with Judge Dredd than they would be the Phantom. So I was able to say that, like, think Judge Dredd rules then when portraying the Phantom on screen, in the comic, like, make sure the face is covered, or if you have it off, make sure it's obscured, which I think Rob Carey did a nice touch off in Scarlet Sapphire when it's the scene with him and Diana and you just see the shadowing. And
yes. I thought you did that very well.
Yeah, cheers, thanks very much. So yeah, Carey really, he really did some of his best work in this book, and in Scarlet Sapphire illustration wise, and it's pretty super, and it's just good. And now I feel it was funny. I think the person who maintains the Phantom wiki page contacted us to get some information on Scarlet Sapphire to update the page, and I was just looking and listed as a publisher in Ireland. It was really super because it had like Lightning Strike listed as the publisher of the Phantom in Ireland, which is great, and then they counted all the individual stories in the 80th anniversary, which is such a short anthology, plus Scarlet Sapphire, and when all was said and done, I think it clocks up as like 8 stories, and it's just great. It's just great to say, all right, fair enough, because we feel like we have like a very modest catalogue now, and we're just we're finding our stride with the character, and it's from again just making that leap from like indie publishing to a licensed property. It's it's really exciting. We get good buzz out of it, and also to feel like we're contributing to this great legacy. And what's great as well is the Avon books that are being reprinted by Hermes as well, being a great asset to be able to get in. Like the story of the Phantom very much proved to be a reference Bible for Scarlet Sapphire, and I believe it's also being used in the same way for Kid Phantom.
Yes,
great series, no?
It's the Avon novels have always been a favourite. The thing that I like about the Avon novels is that they delve more into the character than what you could possibly see as in a comic. So it's interesting to hear you say exactly the same as what Andrew and Paul have said regarding their Kid Phantom. So that's good. I believe you have done other King Features characters as well since. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, it's true. I think it was actually again another 80th anniversary popped up. We got in this email, and it was from All Sorts Media, and it was to do with Prince Valiant.
Yeah.
And it was Roy Foster's Prince Valiant, and I was like, oh, super. And again, it was a character that we were vaguely familiar with, but not as well read up on. And I think I seen the really old film from the 50s with Robert Ragnar in it as well. And then with this character, we got a small essay and some artwork sent to us, and we were saying like if we wanted to post this on our website and all. And I was saying, well, we don't use much in the way of a website. We're actually tweaking our website to be a landing page to read directly to our social media, and we're going to be kicking things up a notch social media wise in the next while. But with Prince Valiant, I was like, well, rather than just post it online, I said I could take this artwork and the essay and I can make it into a 80th anniversary booklet. And it's just a short little booklet, and so we'd hand it out for people, you know, when we're going to shows and all. And at the time we had an intern working with us with Lightning Strike called David Hanley. He was just completing his college course, and part of it was he had to go get work experience. So we took him on for a couple of months, and we gave him that project so he would have his first like published kind of work as well. So he was leaving with both graduated, got his degree, and was able to say, hey, I worked on a King Features Prince Valiant project, you know, which was great. And that was super because again it introduced to another fandom, and it's a character again I'd love to return to also. And we also had some really positive talks in the last while with, again, all sorts of media about approaching King Features, about doing some more of their catalogue characters. Because there's one or two that I'm really, you know, eager. Actually, there's three that springs to mind that really I want to kind of get my hands onto, you know, and not just adapt it for comic books, but we're looking, because again, myself and David, we work at Pulse College, which is an animation college as well. Like we're looking at adapting some of the stuff in both video game format and animation. So
that's interesting because you've mentioned Kid Phantom. Dr. Paul Mason is also a teacher in an animation film school. So interesting.
You know what so gas is? I think the college that he works for is called Griffith.
That's right.
Yes.
And there's a Griffith College over here in Ireland as well that we're partners with. I'm just like, it's so weird. It's almost like it's like either Australian Irish counterparts.
Yeah.
Well, Australia and Ireland have got a very good relationship, and I think because a lot of it was, you know, half of you guys ended over here, you know, back in the days.
Yep.
You know, our favourite sport is Australian rules, which has a heavy influence with your Gaelic football. Sure. So there's definitely a great relationship and a great connection, I guess, between your countrymen and our countrymen. We're almost like cousins.
Yeah, it really is. We usually get that as well. Like we were over at New York a couple of times, and there's a big Irish presence there as well. And again, it's just high immigration levels, particularly during there was like centuries ago, it was like this huge, because the, you know, English colonization, the Irish tenant classes, you know, there's a potato famine, and it just basically, which is what the lower classes basically had to live off, and this led to high immigration. So I think Ireland at one stage had a population of 17 million, and now at the moment our population I think is like 4 to 7 million.
Oh. There you go. Everybody left town. Yeah.
All right, so we kind of talked about that.
Well, I actually wanted to ask, Owen, you've said there a couple of times that you're an indie company, and we're getting a picture of, you know, the fact that that yourself and David have got full-time jobs, and Lightning Strike isn't your full-time job. You know, gives, I think, everybody a bit of an indication as to the size of the company there. And
yeah, that's give you perspective. The way it goes is, what happened was I set up a consultancy for myself, ChronicleChamber Consultancy, in which I both teach, offer business advice for people in the creative industry, had Lightning Strike Comics, a comic book publisher, and then I came to work with Pulse College, and I was still very much just this consultancy, and this gave me an incubation office, and the last few years now I've kind of come more full-time now with the college here as part of the faculty. But we've very much grown the company, and the fact that like we're able to take on interns. At times we've employed people, we take on freelancers. It's it's very much a company that, you know, is growing year by year. We're definitely seeing a certain amount of growth. It's just at the moment it's registered as if you guys had the term sole trader. So it's down as like one individual, but we're in the process of, to deal with the growth, we're looking at actually establishing as a limited company, so we're able to take on more functions as a like full-time publisher. Because what we like to do is, particularly with Scarlet Sapphire, we've been trying to match industry standard rates for payment and page rates. We're trying to improve our distribution, as we've mentioned. So it's very much we're growing bit by bit, and that's the projects that we have lined up, I think, are going to be quite significant for the industry here, and we like to really hang our hat off and be able to have people to basically legitimize what it is that we're doing and have people recognize as a fully fledged, publishing company.
So that's exciting.
Yeah, so. Are all of your artists and writers, I'm assuming, are like freelance, and all of your editing teams, like David and writers and all that?
Yeah, everyone is basically a freelance and collaborative process. It's something that was very much in the DNA of the company, because how Lightning Strike actually began overall was we set it up when I was 19, and I had the idea for, basically I was trying to look for part-time work and no one was hiring, and it was the summer when, the big banking crisis happened and the IMF was coming into Ireland and no one was hiring anything. So me and a lot of my friends, we were all, in between jobs. I was still in college, but couldn't get anything. So I said, how about we all have this skill set? Why don't we just come together and make this comic book? And so we made an anthology book called Lightning Strike Presents. And it responded really well with people, and it was made so cheaply. We literally printed it on A3 paper, folded it, and like single stitch staple. But it literally sold, and what happened was it sold so well that we were able to go back and get like a good high glass spine book made, and it was like 72 pages, so it was like a good decent size as well. Yeah. And from then it just kind of it grew and grew. So that essentially everything that we've done, we kept that DNA it's a constant rotation. Like people can come and go as they wish. If they find work elsewhere, that's fine. And it's what we're all about is, it's not about any one individual. It's about the brand, the name, and the label, and that's what we're trying to promote. So, ideally, when people think of Lightning Strike, they're thinking of that kind of that brand, that group, and it's something that will constantly rotate. But it's out, that quality is always going to be assured by it.
So are all those people that you started with, are they still helping you, still around, or have some of them gone on to work for other companies?
Well, at the moment we have a couple of people, like Robert Carey is his idea, who illustrated Scholar Sapphire, to actually do it. I had the idea for a comic book label, he had the idea for the anthology, and he's currently working with Boulder Animation here in Ireland, which were just brought over by Hasbro as well. He's doing the storyboarding. So he's also recently done a Batman Shadow cover for Dynamite as well. So he's been there from the beginning. Eoin McAuley, who was also an editor on the anthology series, he's also set up a new project with Wayne Talbot called Rogue Comics, which is very much, like Lightning Strike, a community-driven enterprise as well. And everyone else, like Cormac Hughes, was with us from the very beginning. He also did the the reinterpretation of the Sunday strip of the Phantom's Origin that's seen in the inside cover of Scholar Sapphire. So he's very much in touch with us. And yeah, everyone else at some stage, like everyone's just a call away, and we're always talking about collaborations and seeing what we can do and when we can do it.
Nice. Cool. So are you doing any other comics apart from the Phantom, just to talk about your company a little bit longer?
Oh yeah, so at the moment we're very much, I was speaking with Dave as well, we're focusing on establishing ourselves at the brand with the Phantom this year, but we have a couple of other projects that we're hoping to explore next year. Again, additional King feature characters, but at the same time I have my own personal project that I won a grant award for a couple of, I think it was about 2 years ago, and I'm just trying to get it established, and it's called The Adventures of William Lamport. And William Lamport was basically the Irish character who was the inspiration for the character known as Zorro.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was actually based on a real life Irish, I suppose, pirate, I suppose, be one way class him. But if you've never heard of the character before, just definitely, I recommend after this interview, look up William Lamport, and his life is some adventure. It's incredible. And so I'm hoping to adapt that into, what I want to do is make it a single graphic novel, but at the same time, I'm trying to avoid running it through Lightning Strike at the minute, because I think I don't want people to see it just as, I've written the theme song, sang the theme song. So I think if I produce it, I would like another publisher to maybe run the story. Yeah. But if not, that could be something that's definitely on the Lightning Strike press. And also, we're going to be importing some books as well. and doing distribution. And one of them actually is, I was speaking with Rennie with before, and we're hopefully going to proceed with it, will be I'm going to import some Kid Phantom books, and so I can offer distribution to the Irish shops here, the UK shops.
Wow.
And just help get across Europe a little bit more. So that's something that I've spoken with Rennie before, and so yeah, hopefully we have that on our cards for 2018 as well.
Yeah, cool.
Well, that's very exciting.
So a couple of things there that I was sort of to tie together. As an indie company, and you've said there before that you have mostly, well, you started with your own products and your own stories and that sort of thing, but then the Phantom and Sherlock Holmes before that, but the Phantom's where you've first really gone into the licensing side of things. How have you found? It sounds like you've found dealing with King Features really successful so far.
Yeah, so far so good. It's really good. It's although I'll say this much, it's expensive though. It's good because we're so used to making it, because we're used with indie creators before and like they own the IP. I'm used so much to, okay, what's your story? Who's illustrating it? And how much it's going to cost to print? And now we're paying money before we even get to that stage. You got to pay the license. So that's something that's very much we're adapted to. But I have to say, King Features have been very accommodating and very professional, providing great feedback. And it's really thanks to all sorts of media with John McInerney over in the UK. He, again, has been extremely patient and accommodating, and he's been a great asset, and a great advice for us going forward. So hopefully it's the start of a very a professional relationship with great longevity, And even just John was over for a business meeting with some of his other clients there, I think just before Christmas, and he popped in to the office here in Pulse to speak with me and Dave, and he was just saying, it's from, what's that expression, from small acorns come mighty oaks, So hopefully that's very much what we're basing ourselves on now at the moment. So yeah, I have to say King Features have been really good, and to be honest, I've approached, as well as Phantom, I've approached other companies about their properties and IPs and what other ideas that we have, and in some cases they just don't reply, or there's a few other issues there, or they misinterpret stuff. But I can safely say I've had none of those issues with either All Sorts or King Features, so I highly recommend.
Well, that's very encouraging to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Dan, you got any more questions about the company? Or do you want to get on to the comics?
Oh, look, I'm chomping on the bit at the moment because you've said a few times about, you're pegging this year on the Phantom. You've mentioned that the new publications that you have in the future. You've dropped a few little hints there, and we've tried very hard to hold up on that. But I think we both need to know what's going on, what's coming from Lightning Strike and the Phantom in 2018.
Okay, so for 2018, so far everyone would have known us now from the 80th anniversary, and the 80th anniversary book featured never before published authors and illustrators. So everything you see were first time, and that was very much in DNA with what Lightning Strike had established as an indie publisher. Last year then, everyone's seen Scarlet Sapphire, which we had Stephen Mooney, who again has his great series Half Past Danger with IDW. He has done Grayson for DC Comics, and he has an upcoming Dead Hand with Image Comics as well. He illustrated the cover and wrote the script, and was illustrated by Robert Carey and coloured by Trina Farrell and lettered by Robin Jones, and that was the most, I feel, professional to date product that we've ever made, and that's what we've set the standard for ourselves going forward. So we've really ramped up a level. So going into 2018, what we're going to do is we have signed the contract. We're finalising all the last final details, and we'll be producing a mini-series, which we hope will launch us into an ongoing series, even if it's like a quarterly ongoing series every year. And I suppose mini-series is one way of putting it. I suppose quarterly ongoing series is really probably the best way to describe it. And it's going to be 4 issues of the Phantom, and it's going to feature new stories, connecting stories, and we have plans so far, and what I'm going to discuss with you now, from now until publication, may change, may not, but hopefully David, who wasn't free now at the moment for this interview, he's in class now at the moment, but he will hopefully be able to touch base with you guys close to the publication time and be able to fill you in on the more fuller details. So what I can say to you now so far, what we've done is we have approached Alex Saviuk, who has a great history with the Phantom as well.
Yep.
To illustrate one of the 4 issues, and included, and that would be written by David Williams, and Dave will also be editor on the series. We've approached Mike Collins, who you might know, who's illustrated some of the Scandinavian Phantom stories. He worked with us on Sherlock as well. He does the storyboarding for Doctor Who and Sherlock for the BBC as well.
Oh, wow.
He has a great connection with the Phantom. And I've approached him, and he's really interested. And he's mentioned to me a colleague he's mentioned the colleague and everything, but I'm not sure if he actually mentioned his name. So forgive me, but he might be collaborating with one of his guys, and they'd be from Scandinavia. So that would be one issue. We're also having Oisin Roach. We've approached. That's a rhyme. And he's illustrated some of our covers in the past, and he does these amazing, like almost oil painting like murals for covers, and he would be and I said to him, you know what, you remember the old Gold Key comics?
Yeah.
I was saying to him, like, I wouldn't mind like a cover like that kind of style, and so we have Oisin Roach who might be doing that, and Oisin, we spoke to him about the idea, and he had a great idea of, we're actually thinking of making a physical Phantom costume and getting a model and to model for the covers and doing it really old school. And if we do that, we're going to do like some behind the scene like footage and share that with you guys across our social media.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And also, I'm also floating around the idea as well, and I was saying to Dave, is that at the end of each issue, we're going to have I think we're contracted for 24 pages an issue. So what I would like to do is in the final 2 pages to have basically a 2-page vignette where we can do like a little short story with the Phantom, and that might.
Is that like a prose story?
Not so much a prose. It'd be again 2-page sequential story. So it'd be illustrated and written, but we will give it to, kind of like we did with the 80th anniversary, those who have never been published before, and again help keep with our DNA as a publisher, lightning strike, of indie. Try and give someone the first, exposure and experience of working on a licensed property.
Awesome.
I would like to do that. So just the end. So, and it might introduce, my thinking is as well, it will help to introduce the audience to something they might have never thought of approaching before. So let's say you're into the Phantom, you're going to read this Phantom comic, and then at the end you might read a Phantom story that's not so traditional in the Phantom style, but you might like it because it's something new, and it's a way of introducing someone to something new and different styles and different forms. So
I like that idea. Yeah. And like you said, that's very it's your DNA, so it's it's encouraging that while you may have moved up in the world, you're still keeping true to your roots and your beginning and stuff like that. So I like that idea.
Yes, cheers. And that's pretty much what we have planned in as so far. So as I mentioned, what I hope to do is get some copies of Kid Phantom over here as well. And if our going according to plan would be to have, release Kid Phantom to the Irish audience here, and then following that, have maybe 2 months later have our own content. Then have to start the new quarterly series, and then after that back to Kid Phantom, then back to us again. So we'll have that kind of. It won't be monthly content, but it'll be very much. We're trying to increase our content production, bit by bit.
Regular.
So that's it. And I think frequency is important with the readership, particularly in modern readership today. So as I said, we have 2. More or less the guts of 2 stories planned out. Dave has 2 script ideas, and also we will have. I was approached by another artist as well, who has been illustrating the Phantom in Scandinavia from 1975, and he was interested in something. So hopefully, I'm still in early talks with this gentleman, but we might have another member to the team soon enough. And we'll see from then. So we have the whole year basically to produce this, and we've been talking about it. We spent the guts of the last few months of 2017 discussing what we were going to do as well. And so it's very much plan in action now, and we're literally kicking off production ASAP as we can.
Wow. Oh, that's excellent.
Wow.
So so many questions.
Yeah, I've been talking to Alex, and so he kind of mentioned that he's got a few little deadlines coming up and stuff like that. So that all kind of makes sense now.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, can I? You mentioned their mini series and a couple of stories and whatever. Do you see this as being is the Lightning Strike fandom going to be? Is there a story arc that he's traveling on, or that you're fitting? Are they standalone stories, or is it one extended adventure for a start?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and depending on who you're talking to, me or Dave, you might get a different answer, because I'm so used to the anthology way of thinking that I keep trying to say, Dave, I'm used to big breaks between productions. I'm like, we should make this as self-contained as you can in case someone doesn't come back for the next issue or someone misses an issue. And Dave's like, no, we got to try and emulate more, the traditional publisher and start world building. So I think what we would like to do is the kind of Phantom style and motif, everything that we've kind of established with Phantom and Scarlet Sapphire, I think that's going to be very much the template for the kind of Phantom interpretation we're offering. And because our contract is for Ireland and the UK, the way I'm seeing it is you have, your version of the Phantom in Scandinavia, you have it in Germany, and you have it like in Australia. For us, this is going to be our interpretation of the character here in Ireland and the UK. So again, some elements might be familiar, some we might slightly tweak. For example, I don't think we're going to, I think like Diana and Kit, I believe in our continuity, in my own mind anyway, unless we address otherwise, are going to be married, but we won't have the twins, for example, present in our stories.
Yep.
Okay, yep.
And I think also the likes of Diana's role, I think Stephen referred to her as a senator for the UN.
Yes.
So I think that, again, just little minor tweaks, nothing too drastic, but just something just so we can make it slightly different. And again, we're keeping it loose so that if fans want to incorporate it into their own continuity, into their own canon, they can.
Yeah.
But if they want to read it as separate, then we'll have enough that they can do that also. So very much the world that you've seen the Phantom in Scarlet Sapphire is very much going to be the same world that's going to continue on. And I believe we will have a spine running through the 4 issues, that it will be connected. Now, how latent the connection that might be will depend on the overall team, because you will have a different artist, a different writer every issue.
Yeah.
But let's just say I very deliberately not played around with the Singh Brotherhood. So I'm saying, because if we're going to introduce them, and we should do it in a really big way, or maybe we already have.
Yeah, okay.
And that's going to come, to be revealed. Because again, I think, particularly with Scarlet Sapphire, the approach I've been making with it has been, again, cinematic, and having that kind of, that build up. So let's just say, if you even reading Scarlet Sapphire, you can go back and read, and there's a lot there that we can still mine across, a couple of issues.
Yeah.
And I think interpretation of Diana, particularly what Stephen Mooney did, the character, and Rob Carey's illustrations, I think we really gave a really strong interpretation of Diana as well. That's going to come, feature more and more in future issues as well. So,
yeah.
No, that's good.
Okay.
So, you made mention that it's going to be distributed to the UK and Ireland, which you said that's what your license includes.
Yeah.
So for the average fan who doesn't live in the UK and Ireland, like let's just say you're in Australia or the UK or even India or something like that, will they be available via, say, something like Phantom's Vault, or would they be or would we have to contact like Big Bang Comics over in Ireland?
Well, so here's what we're going to do now at the moment is, if people want to order directly from Ireland, I recommend either Dublin City Comics or Big Bang Comics, who have stocked us before. You should be able to order direct to them. But recently, what we've also done is because I don't mind posting stuff. It's just that we've had such a bad year with regards to deliveries. I'm eager not to repeat that.
Gun shy.
But, yeah, that's it. But essentially, I will always do what I can to accommodate fans the best I can, because we wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't for them. So whatever we can do, we will do. And again, if everyone is going to continue to extend the same level of patience that they have, I'm sure we can accommodate. But essentially, with Scarlet Sapphire in particular this year, Scarlet Sapphire is going to be our first internationally translated book that Danny Books in Germany have got a contract with King Features to basically translate Scarlet Sapphire to German for a convention that I think Stephen Mooney is attending. And so they're going to have copies available at the show and copies to sell also wholesale. And they've also ordered in a quantity of the English version as well.
That's exciting. So what was that company called?
Danny Books, D-A-N-I, Danny Books. And they're in Germany, and it's part of a convention. And what's really great about that is it's so much easier for us just to email a file over than to post a huge quantity of books. That, if possible, if we go on and produce this content going forward, and if there's a publisher or a distributor that would be interested in printing and distributing, or maybe an existing publication that might be interested in featuring some of the content, if they want to do that, like, I would make that offer available to people. And I think that benefits everyone, because I think that might be a future possibility for us. But if worse comes to worse, and it's it's just simply we shipping over to different parts of the world, we know now that it will take a good nearly half a year. So with shipping and distribution, at least I know that's the maximum end of what we're looking at. If that's the case, then I will just have the book will be released in Ireland and UK in 2018, and then we'll say it might be late 2018, maybe 2019. We look at international releases then, So if there's a slight lag, we might look at that,
Yeah. Does that mean that we might ultimately see the Lightning Strike stories actually appear in Fruit Comics, for instance, or Egmont?
Well, at the moment, with regards to Egmont, I think they were very kind in that they asked for a PDF review copy, and they did a little one-page article. And I must actually, I think it's in Sweden Phantom, I must post that in our content going forward. So as far as international, that's the only other Phantom international publication that has covered us. But if the others want to do that, I haven't approached either Egmont, I haven't approached View Comics if they would be interested as of yet. But it's always something that I might in the future approach them if they're interested. We'd be very interested in our end, and it might benefit, because again, the artists who'll be working on these stories will already be known to these companies.
Yeah.
So the style and the quality can be assured with regards to that. So who knows? At the moment, I can't give a definite answer because I haven't entertained it. But in my mind, I'm just thinking, I can't see why not.
Awesome.
Well, it certainly gives you another avenue, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that, and it will just help, and it gives us an idea then, because of what we need to print and produce, and it's all about just contributing to the fandom and so on and so forth. So whatever we can do, whatever's best to accommodate the fans, I'm willing to do.
Awesome.
That's awesome. So Germany's got a bit of a good publishing history on the fandom. So it's good to see that. Good to see the Phantom back in Germany. So that's very exciting. And I guess we're going to have to do some bit of googling and try and get in contact with them as well. Yeah,
cool. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's Danny Books, and I think it's part of a convention. I don't even think it's been officially announced by those guys yet, but I'm sure it'll be coming up in the near future anyway. But feel free to spread the news, because it's all signed and ready to go, and the files were sent there literally yesterday, on Thursday I think, and I'm sending more files over to them later in the week. So yeah.
I'm just having a look at them now. They've got They seem to do a fair bit of stuff as well. So that's very exciting. Danger Girl, Garfield, Ghostbusters, X-Files. Sounds very exciting. So
we're in good company. So
yeah.
So So no, that's very exciting. So now with Kid Phantom, so would that be? Is that still going? You said you're going to be distributing that. So
Yeah.
For
So what we're doing is we have a couple of comic shops that stock us here, and we do conventions. So I've basically put an order, and it's not too significant quantity, but enough to carry over and like stock shelves and be present at a show. So we're going to do it that way, and then see what traction we can get with it. And
nice.
I just think it's a good complementary piece to have as well, you know. So Dave had a great idea, and I haven't approached the Kid Phantom guys about it yet, but Dave just floated it to me and saying, like, if we're going to do 2-page shorts at the end of a book, maybe we should contact like Paul Mason and see if they would do a 2-page Kid Phantom short at the end of one of our books. Is a good way of, you know, cross collaboration, you know. Like that could be cool.
I'm sure they would be very keen to that. They both Andrew, Paul, and even Glenn Ford listen to this podcast, and Dudley. So I'm sure they'll probably hint. They'll probably be listening to this and instant messaging each other straight away.
I don't know. Paul listens to this at 3 a.m. while he's working on Kid Phantom. So at 3 a.m. 3:30, he's probably not thinking, you know what, another 2 pages would be good.
Yes. Well, he would almost be on your time then. So
there we go.
So no, that sounds like a very good idea. So yeah.
But so hopefully, I just think it's just serendipity that, you know, Kid Phantom came out so close to when we were starting our journey with the Phantom as well. And I picked up issue 1, which is great. It was so funny because when I ordered it on the free website, I noticed they didn't have Ireland as an option. I think I only went to like the United Kingdom.
Is that right?
So I sent an email, and I forget who it was who responded, but they were very accommodating and said they were looking to add Ireland as an option onto the website. It was just like a pet peeve, you know. It's like, I know.
I have a guy who I work with. He's from Wales, and one of the things that we all give him stick about is that he's very proud. He's a very proud Welshman. We just say there's no such thing as Welshmen. You're all British.
So you could really get the Irish upset doing that far more than the Welsh.
So I won't say that with you, but I understand that it can be a bit of a sore point being painted with the same brush as the British.
It's just it's just so funny. It's just a good bit of banter. I wasn't even sure if I was going to get a response when I sent it, but I was just like, you know, it's just one of those things. But it is, actually being an Irish publisher, a comic publisher, this is why the Phantom Project is so unique to us, is that particularly with the quarterly series, this is going to be, to my knowledge, the first ever ongoing licensed comic book superhero comic produced here in Ireland. You know, I'm pretty sure it's going to be like as far as I know, like we do have other Irish comics here like being published, a lot of ongoing content, but like they're all again creator owned indie projects. This will be if we're looking at frequency, and if we're looking at, like, again, we are not the license holder, it's being imported from essentially America. We're importing the license from. I think it's definitely going to be one of these kind of like watershed moments for the community and the industry here at the minute. So, which is from a legacy point of view is great to have, you know. And it's also, again, one of those characters that everyone, if you have an understanding of just comic books in general, you're going to know the characters. So, but it's also enough room there for us to maneuver and to put our own stamp onto it. So, like, I feel like a lot of the foundation work is already been done for us, and now it's kind of like we're able to mold it for the next generation, and hopefully, not misstep with the character.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you join an elite company in the sense that there's only a handful of countries and publishers that have actually produced own content. So, you know, there's Semic, Egmont, there's you guys, Basti, which is from Germany, Sparta, which was Italian and French. That's the Europe side of things. You've got Fru, in Australia,
but even Frew would have it's certainly single digits, less than 10 stories that they've ever produced in 70 years of publishing.
Yeah, exactly. And then you've got obviously you've got America. There's a couple. There's King Charlton, Moonstone, Herms, Dynamite, and then there's the Brazil and Turkey as well. So so there's you can almost count them all on two hands, maybe three at the absolute most of the company that you guys are now joining.
Yeah, no, that's pretty awesome. And it's a character that's really I'm getting very attached to, really grown. And I think it's someone at first, we trying to put ourselves in the mindset, thinking as Kit would, figuring out the voice of the character and what direction we want to take with it. But the more we stay with it, the more that becomes a little clearer, which is great. And it was funny, I think it was after we did the 80th anniversary and just before we did Scarlet Sapphire one Christmas, I was dropping heavy hints to my family that I'd love to get, one of the Phantom rings.
Yeah.
I've seen that on the video that we're chatting.
Oh, yeah. Good. Yeah, it's on, yeah. And I was talking to when I was in, I used to work in a hospital for years, and there was a guy called Arnold I worked with, and his family were from the Philippines. And but his family were all silversmiths. And what they did was my family then contacted Arnold to contact his family, and they made a ring for me then with the skull and the Phantom mark then for me one Christmas. So every day, every meeting, everywhere I go now, I have the ring on, and it's just that kind of conversations that I don't ever ask. And it's just that's how much, on the sleeve, as it were, that we wear, the Phantom association with it. And it's great. It's introducing it to people. And you'd be surprised. Once I was, honest to God, the last Dublin Comic Con, I was carrying a load of prints and books down to it, and I was stopping for a taxi, and the taxi driver had me hand out, he saw the ring and he knew about the Phantom from the newspaper strips, and I remember reading it. And I was like, it's just such an Irish taxi man that's talking to me about it. It's such a connection, and you never know who you meet then along the way, with it. And so it's great to be a fan in this kind of community, but it's also great to be able to generate content and participate with it.
Absolutely.
Very excited. So Alex Saviuk, and sorry Alex, I've probably butchered your name as well. When we get you on the podcast, you can correct us on that one.
Well, we've been butchering it for 90 podcasts. Why would we stop now?
We're quite known for butchering people's names and pronunciations. So sorry about that. So why Alex? I can understand why, because we all love his work, but what made you approach him?
It was really interesting. So what happened was, we're still finalising stuff for Alex as well, but he said he seems very eager with it, and we've done the initial business talk out of the way as well, so it's very much just about finalising things. But it was at the end of, I think it was Scarlet Sapphire, Alex actually found myself on Facebook and dropped me a message, and I was speaking with him, and then I was like, I feel like I know something that Alex has done as well, and then I realised, holy Moses, I knew so much that he actually had done. And I have some of his artwork in stories I would have collected. So I said to myself, a lot of people at Scarlet Sapphire became more aware of Lightning Strike and what we were doing, but we weren't in a position, because we didn't have any additional contracts to offer anything else to people. So all I could say to people, if something comes up, I'll let you know, which is always, it always sounds like you're passing someone off, but genuinely we didn't have a contract, and I didn't want to misstep by promising people that I couldn't back up. So the first opportunity then that I had to contact Alex on something, I did, and it was, and this, I think it's a really good decision, and we're really excited to, touch base with him once more and get the ball rolling and see what we can do with it,
He's a great guy.
He really is. And I think any conversations that we've been having, he's so cordial, respectful. He's someone I'm really looking forward to working with. And again, I've been very blessed as well with everyone I've been working with from the 80th anniversary all the way up. Stephen Mooney is again such an accommodating, respectful, thoughtful creator. like there's a reason why he's so good at what he does. And again, Robert Carey, another stand-up guy as well, and of course Trina Farrell, who, again, because there was certain like circumstances and difficulties in the production, a couple of stages, but all three, of the Crave and Robin as well, of course, and Lera, like all four of these folks really just, great in putting it together, so professional, and that makes it so much more, the experience of producing these stories so much, more enjoyable. So lining up a whole new creative team, I know I've worked briefly with Mike before on Sherlock, and I've met him at a few conventions, so as long as his schedule and everything permits and we can continue on and include him in the project, that'd be super. And Alex, again, is just someone who, I think since I would have been in primary school, would have been reading probably his, Spider-Man strips in the papers and stuff. So again, it's great I can't believe someone who's literally, working on Stan Lee's scripts, who I think writes the Sunday strips, is going to be working on a story with us. It's just, very,
You got to pinch yourself.
Didn't see that coming. Yeah, that's it. It's like didn't see this one coming. But it's great, and again, it stands for as well just the direction the company's going, and hopefully, I think we have the longevity behind us. But now it's just about the stability, and if we get that, then I think it's going to be an exciting future.
Well, I think that people would be seeing when they come along is that you guys do produce a quality product, and we may not have seen a great ream of Phantom stuff so far, but like the Tales of the Ghost Who Walks, the 80th special, as an anthology works really well. And I commented at the time when we did the review on the podcast that the way that David Williams's introduction brought up stuff there that I hadn't thought about before, and I've been a fan all my life. And the anthology, it jumps around, but it ties together, and then the last story brings the whole thing to a circle. So, there's a lot of thought goes behind it. And Scarlet Sapphire, for people who haven't seen it yet, it is really good quality, and the artwork is magnificent, and there's, you've said cinematic, there's lots of elements to that just make it a beauty to read. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's the sort of thing that, if established artists are seeing that, they're going to go, well, you know what, this might be a little company, but they know what they're doing, and they've got their hearts in the right place and all the rest of it. So it's not a surprise to me that you should find that these guys want to get in touch and work with you.
But that's very super. Thanks again for
that. Just going back to Alex, he, just so you're aware, I'm not sure if you are, but he actually drew the Defenders of the Earth comic book series that you would have seen as well.
Yeah, I'm pretty convinced. I have to go back now. I have it in, all my Phantom stuff is in a designated, I think it's like a collector's box. I have these, my father one Christmas came home with a hamper he got, and it looks like an old pirate chest of drawers. So I'm putting all my Phantom stuff into this old chest that really adds atmosphere to it. But I'll go back and see if I have Alex's illustrations on it. So I'm convinced I have, but it's been a while since I've dug them out. So I got to go and dig them back out now and just double check that. Because it's going to be really awkward. Next time if I physically meet Alex now, I'm just going to be coming with a ream of stuff for him to sign.
And you know what? He would do it for you as well. He's
he's that type of.
Yeah, he's a great guy. So
do you think that you said that those first two stories sort of lined up? Do you think that you'd continue to look for established Phantom artists, or back to perhaps artists who haven't worked with the Phantom as much, or we're not familiar with?
Exactly right. At the moment, I think Stephen Mooney was a great choice as both an artist and the cover artist, because I'm not sure if you're familiar with any of his work. He would have done stuff. Yeah, no, but I recommend, if you haven't, check out Half Past Danger, definitely, which is a creator-owned story with IDW. That would have been the back cover. When everyone gets a physical copy, he's going to see a back cover as well for Half Past Danger, and that's the ad for that story. And I mean, like, he's really into that kind of pulpy kind of action style, which we really think of when we think of the Phantom over here. And again, he wouldn't have been associated with the character, but he really just matched. So for us, ultimately, it doesn't really so much matter, as I've realized. Like, it doesn't matter like who the person is, career level wise, or if they've worked with the Phantom before, but it's about a quality, And if you have that quality installed, then we don't care about anything else. Then you're good enough for the book. That's that simple. So if you have a history with the character, that's obviously going to be a bonus. If you don't, that's perfectly fine. And like that's where myself and David will come in and help, guide the creative teams,
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
The other artist you touched base, was that Mike Collins who he did the Moonstone story, and he also did a cover for the UK Wolf version. Is that the same Mike Collins?
I think it could be, because I'm not actually familiar. I didn't realise, actually, Mike mentioned he did Phantom stuff before, but only that he had done it for Scandinavia. But I'm not actually sure if he'd done stuff for Moonstone. He could have. But I've got to check, because guys, I've had the conversations I've had with Mike. I've never even asked that one. So Moonstone for me, I came in a little too late to catch some of the Moonstone stuff. Not much of that has made its way over here. So I don't think, is the company still?
Yeah, they're still around. They don't do Phantom stuff. Their Phantom stuff is a lot better than Dynamite's.
Yeah.
But then again, it's not really that hard.
Fair point.
So there is.
Yeah.
I'll be interested to know if it is the same Mike Collins. I know he's done a cover for the Wolf Phantom, which was back in the 90s, and he also did a Moonstone story as well, The Treasure of Bangala. So it'll be interesting to know if it's the same one.
I'd imagine it would be, but what I'll likely do is, when we have story content and the creative team solidified, what I'll do is I'll do what I did with the 80th anniversary and what I did with Scarlet Sapphire, is that I usually give a press release and it has a little bio for everyone who works on it.
Yeah.
So it says, here's what the role is and here's what they've done. And I think, I very much believe in the comic industry as a whole, we're at that stage where it's vitally important that the creative teams get the credit due to them, that people get recognition. So I'm always very clear at making sure everyone has, the recognition, and again, that's gotta give credit. I also got to say, the letter on the series that we have with Scarlet Sapphire, Robin Jones, who I hope will be coming over to join us for additional Phantom. I haven't said it to him yet, but I can almost guarantee it, because he's gave me assurances any future Phantom stuff he's on board. But he is such a great letterer. If anyone's ever listening and looking for a letterer, Robin Jones is just ridiculously good. He's quick and it's just super quality to it. So yeah.
So the lettering, Robin Jones.
Yeah.
He did I kind of missed that. So
Germ's googling other things.
He did the lettering for the 80th. Is that correct?
Yeah, he did for the 80th and Scarlet Sapphire. If you can find him on Twitter at Robin Jones Writes, I think it is. But yeah, again, we'll be sharing stuff. But he's done all the lettering. And the 80th anniversary, I gave him a ridiculous deadline to get it done, because we had so many. Like, the 80th anniversary was actually a pretty tight deadline. I think we started production at the start of May, and we had it ready by August.
Oh wow!
So I got to say that, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry, did I cut you off?
Oh no, I was going to move to a different thing. Connected. But
yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to. That sort of brings me to the question about the scheduling for this new series. So you're talking about this mini-series that's starting. When do you think it'll be actually published and on shelves and ready for people to buy?
Yeah, that's it. So what way we're looking at now at the moment is we're thinking quarterly. So we have 4 across the 12 months. And ideally, what we would have liked to be in the position was to have some of this stuff already started before January came. Now we're entering into February. But the next big show that we have probably lined up would be Dublin Comic Con are doing 2 shows. They're doing an anime edition in March, and then they're doing the big one in August. So definitely by August we're going to have 1, if not 2, because we can start production on 2 books simultaneously because we have multiple creative teams.
Yeah,
so
and they're not tied up as well.
Yeah, essentially that's it. The only issue that faces us is that's just to the business side of things, of the financial perspective. But we ideally financing one book, getting it out, and then getting the money coming in for that before we start the second one. And you don't want to leave people hanging around our back end pay, because that's, as a freelancer, I know it's a pain. But if we can get as much started as we can, we can start staggering it out then, and try and hit the main beat. So I would say definitely by March we should probably have the Kid Phantom books all sorted out. And if we have that, then I probably have preview artwork. Might even do a preview booklet for what's coming. and
Nice.
package together. And then, so by March, I'd say you can expect to see content coming as well. As far as that be, they say maybe a month and a half, as far as we can start seeing some kind of content being a news generating. And from there, we'll have a clear idea of the schedule based on everyone's, own personal deadlines, and we figure it out. And again, I don't think we're going to get that kind of, every 3 months kind of scheduling that would be ideal for like a quarterly. But what we will definitely get is we will get a nice frequency too, and we find our pace. And again, it's definitely our first time doing it, this kind of frequency output. So I expect, again, the learning experience, the learning curve. But I'm pretty certain we're gonna, we haven't missed a deadline with regards to launch of production yet in all of Lightning Strike's history. So whatever date we do commit to, I guarantee you it's gonna happen.
You'll get there.
Awesome. No worries. And so what we'll do is you will keep us in touch with what's coming out. We'll get David back on the podcast close to the date. Might have to chase up a couple of the artists for a bit of podcast love as well. So, and the writers and that. So looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Have you got any more questions or anything about there? About the new stuff, Dan? Because I wouldn't mind actually talking about the actual other 2 comics they have produced.
No, there's just so much to process there. There's a lot of good stuff. I'm certainly, as we edit this, we'll go back and take some notes and do some written articles for people to read as well about particularly this miniseries that's coming. It's going to be very exciting for all fans to see some new content, and it'd be really interesting to see, within the world you're talking about, but some tweaks without the twins and those sorts of things. What's an Irish spin? What's an Irish Phantom look like? He'll be purple though, won't he? He's not going to be a green Phantom.
I was so tempted to make a camouflage costume that I'm convinced. Even if we don't make it a full costume, we gotta put him in some kind of green at some stage. We just gotta do
it. You might just have to do a variant cover with dressed up as a leprechaun or something like that for your Comic Con or something. Everyone else does variant covers. Yeah, everyone else does variant covers. So he was green in, he was khaki, so in New Zealand for a little while. So
that's generous. He's baby poo brown is what he is in New Zealand.
So maybe, I reckon you got to come up with a variant cover of different green for St. Patrick's. I think that is a must.
Yeah, that'd be in March as well, so March, April. Yeah, we'll see what will happen there.
I reckon there'll be a lot of Australians that will be interested in one as well. The good thing about us, a lot of Australian collectors, is that there's a lot of completists, so they have to get a bit of everything. So
I get you.
Yeah, awesome. Was there anything that you've missed that you want to talk about the news story, or do you want to talk about quickly the other stories?
From my point of view, at the moment, that's what we have with regards to new content at the moment. And I'll just say this now: if anyone's following us online, they might be thinking, these guys are very quiet online. What's happening? I just want to say, my stance has always been empty vessels make the most noise, so we've been slowly stockpiling, because as I say, we've dropped quite a bit in this interview, and what happens is I'm gathering all this up. Myself and Dave are always engaged in almost weekly meetings now, discussing what we're going to do, how we're going to approach this. My end of things is usually from the business perspective, so I got to put together a decent budget and deadline and make sure no one's killing themselves to workload. And then once we have everything behind the scenes all done and dusted and lined up, it should work like a well-oiled machine, and then we're going to start putting out more content. And we'd be, as I said, you'd seeing behind the scenes content. We might run some internal interviews as well. We liaise with you guys, of course, as well. And we get more and more content. As far as I'm concerned, we see you as official media partners almost. We always credit you in a lot of the books that we do, So we'll send news via you guys as well. And we're looking at revamping the website the Lightning Strike website, and essentially what it's going to be is like a landing page, and it's going to redirect you to, you know, like our Instagram or Facebook and stuff, because there's not much for an elaborate, you know, website, because we can do a lot of that in the social media now where everyone is. So there's no point trying to migrate everyone off social media onto our website. But it's important to still have the domain name and stuff. And so at the moment, that's where we are now with regards to the new series. And if anything, like, again, it's very much still in flux with regards to people and timeline and deadlines, but that's what we have lined up now. And we will, once the dust settles on it and we have a final team, we'll let you guys know. But we still have, we have the contract, we have the script, we have the idea, and we have the year to produce it in. So just expect, you know, this year to be definitely, you know, an even bigger Phantom year for Ireland and for Lightning Strike. And yeah, thanks for being on the journey, and let's see what goes on from here.
No, fantastic. Well, we'll include all of those social media and your website links in the post that we put up with this. We haven't said, but we do appreciate you throwing ChronicleChamber.com in on the thanks on the inside of the Scarlet Sapphire book, which people will see when it gets to Australia. That was pretty cool. I think it's the first time we've ever been officially printed in a comic. So official media partners or no, for a bunch of guys who are just enjoying themselves talking fandom, that's pretty cool for us. So yeah.
Just real quick, I just gotta go get a plug to plug this gizmo in. Looks like I'm about to run out on power. I'll just be 2 seconds.
All right.
No problem, mate. It's not the first time this has happened. Shout out to Glenn. Yes, well, that one's still, that's almost in legend, just like Steve missing out. What are some other legends? Podcast legend, Glenn's battery running out. What other ones come to mind for you, Dan?
Well, episode 73, obviously, which at some point will we'll be able to dredge back up. Missing podcast.
My daughter making guest introductions.
Yes, regularly.
Yes.
I think I've heard her at least once tonight.
Yeah. Oh, no, that was probably my wife telling her to get back in bed.
Yeah,
Well, we were just saying while you were gone, that's impressive, because last time we spoke to a publisher, the battery ran out and he just disappeared. So, hello, Glenn, if you're listening.
Awesome. So now, for those who are listening and they're not driving to work or doing anything dangerous like driving a truck, shout out to Callum. And they've got the Dublin comic in front of them, which I've got mine. Have you got yours, Dan?
Yeah, it's sitting there. Yeah.
The 80th? Yeah, you got your 80th?
Yeah.
Cool. So did you get one or two, Dan?
I only got the one. I'm only a teacher, mate. I don't have the big dollars like you.
Mate, teachers earn lots of money over in Australia. They don't do much work either. So I just wanted to flick through some of these stories we've got you and stuff like that, because I must admit I was very impressed with the 80th special. I really like the front cover. It's got that eerie crypt-like look, which, you know, to me shows that you've got an understanding that there's the legacy of the 21 Phantoms and stuff like that.
That cover was interesting how it came about. Originally, it was Basil Lim who originally he was a lecturer here on Pulse as well, and he wanted to participate, but he's usually from a video game background, but he hadn't done anything in comic books, so this was his first comic book background.
Oh, wow.
And John O'Reilly, who had written a couple of stories in that as well, he was actually one of my students. He came up with the idea for that cover. And I was joking because I think that you guys said it. It might have been one of you guys, could have been Stephen, was saying it's like the best cover of the year or something at the time. And I said it to Baz, and he's been bothering me since to say, you must get that in writing from those guys so I could just hang it up on the wall, best cover artist.
No, I think that was me, and it was best international cover. No, I'll claim it. No, it was best international cover of 2016, I said.
Baz is very appreciative. I must make sure he signs the copy for you then, for the cover copy for you.
Good stuff.
You're a suck up, Dan.
I didn't know at the time. Who knows? Who knew that people actually listen to us, Germ?
Yeah, that's it, But yeah, no. One of the things that grabbed me about the interior stories is that you were very good. Like I'm thinking about the first one, like the Magician's Horde, and then there was even another one as well.
On the Phantom's Trail?
No, there was
Trouble at Sea?
Oh, sorry, I can't even think of it now. But like what you did very well was compact a lot of story inside little panels.
Mm-hmm.
And I was impressed with that because, like, especially that first story was quite in depth because he goes from, a ship to a place, to the ship, and then he goes back to the island, and then he fights.
That story is written by Sean Hill, and he's an author and a good friend of mine based in Dublin, and he's a big horror writer. He's very much into H.P. Lovecraft kind of stuff. And so when I was talking to him about the Phantom, he really liked the way we approach supernatural elements with the Phantom is that, it can be implied but never directly just give magic a say into it, because I think that works better with the character. So with Sean's work there, he had a really dense but well thought out story, and then I think it was Cian Tomey then who was a really good artist, and again wasn't officially published by any major publisher at the time, so he's still eligible for the little out call we went to. He really was able to take that kind of dense script and make it work. And of course you had Chris O'Hanlon who coloured it. And he's since done some colouring work for Marvel and the like. So, I was really, really fortunate in that story, and they played it really well. And the pacing, the guys, I think it was just the perfect blend of the artist and the writer getting together and just getting the pacing right. Because what we did was the first day, and even if you go back on our Facebook page, you probably see a team photo of everyone who worked in the story. Yeah. We had a group. Pulse College was great for facilitating meetings, and we got the whole group together, and I got everyone to submit work, paired them together in teams based on submissions, and then in that first day got everyone to exchange contact information and discuss with each other what they were going to do, and I think that really helped with regards to pacing and stuff, which was great. So the Magician's Horde was a really strong start, and I think after that then we had On the Phantom's Trail, and that was just a really good. I think if Derek Keogh, who wrote the story, I think he really struck a real classic kind of Phantom kind of tone with that story.
Yeah, and the art was very good for the period as well. It's a very deep story, very in-depth story. It almost reads as a prose, where there's a lot in a prose story, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Because I think it was good. We got both the artists and the writers really got their chance to shine. In this book, it really came along quite well. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Even the little panel, the Pirates of the Ether, I thought was kind of funny and unique and almost up to date, where you've kind of got the Phantom taking on a different type of pirate. So I thought, I enjoyed that one as well.
Oh yeah, that was great. That was by Roisin, and she was one of the animation students at the time. And what was great was I never copped on that she had put the chain on the Skulltron.
Yeah.
Owen, and I was like, that's the first shot we had of the Skulltron, and it wasn't until afterwards that I realised the significance of it. And I was like, that was actually a really good catch. So the guys really did the reference, material was quite strong in it, because again, it's leading back to the to the origin, to the heritage of the character.
Yeah,
as well.
The chain of patience.
Yeah, very much. So is that the sort of story you said before about the little 2-page snippets that you'll be putting at the end of the miniseries books? Is that the sort of story that you think that you'll put there, something which looks at the Phantom in another light?
Yeah, pretty much. As you can see, the 80th anniversary had different styles, different story, and I think, imagine if we took a 2-pager from that and we put it in the end of the story, I think it would work. Because I was even speaking with Sean, who wrote The Magician's Hoard, if he'd be interested in doing that 2-pager. And what I think was great was the narrative device that we did for Sean's story was we had an extract from one of the Phantom's Chronicles.
Journal. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So if we have like from the Phantom's Journal, from the Chronicles, like, I think if we do that open scroll for each of the 2 pages, that would be great because we can enter then mid-action, you know?
Yeah, exactly. You can have the backstory without having to see you are time sensitive or space sensitive. Exactly.
So it could be in that if we have like 4 issues planned for 2018 and 2-page shorts, that means we will have 8 stories for 2018 when all said and done, you know, which brings us up to about 16 stories when you count all the short stories you've done together, you know. So
you'll be racing past through.
Dave's very eager for doing like a collected edition of the stories into like a trade format. So I think definitely it wants some consideration, and if we were to do that, we might look at maybe if King allow it, maybe some kind of a Kickstarter or something. But I think it would make for a really good trade, you know.
Yeah. And the inside rear cover points out that all of the proceeds from the book were donated to the Temple Street Hospital. So that's
really good. And
that's something that's important to you. That sort of philanthropic, being able to give back.
Yeah, that's exactly, because it's a funny, good, thanks for reminding me, because literally I got the email yesterday. In Temple Street, the proceeds went to the neuro and renal department, and they just opened that department, department yesterday. So the money went through. I'm not sure if I put the photo up or not, but we did one of those big cheesy giant check handovers to them. And and that the money from Sherlock also went to the hospital as well. And it was a good cause, because essentially what happened was, John, I think it was the first or second Dublin Comic Con, I was giving the guys a hand in the office, and I was answering calls, and we got a lot of messages from, it was heartbreaking stuff about kids who really want to go to Comic Con, but they couldn't get tickets, or there was a sickness or an illness involved. And I was like, I really wish I could help you, but we just couldn't facilitate in some cases. And so when I had the chance to get something like Sherlock or something like Phantom, I was like, well, why? We've been lucky enough, to have this opportunity as a business to do this. Let's, share with this. So for the kids who couldn't make it, and to the con, like the sick kids, we made sure they benefit from Dublin Comic Con. So we left some copies for the hospitals to pass on to the kids, and we also donate the proceeds then, which have gone on to do some great work since. I think all said and done, we must have raised for, I think the 3 hospitals, we must have raised over, about 2.5K or so.
Wow.
Which, which is great, and what happens is all the children's departments here now, I think they're building a children's hospital, so eventually all 3 hospitals, all the funds will all consolidate into the one hospital eventually. Unfortunately, from a business perspective, we weren't able to participate in any kind of philanthropic endeavor in 2017. But we might figure something out then for 2018 and see if we can go back, even if it's like we designate a small portion of sales from one of our major events. But wherever we can help, we love to. And I think that's great as well. Like when you have the chance to work on a superhero, particularly like the Phantom, to actually have them see the character have a real life effect for positive change on the real world. I think that's a very powerful thing to be able to do.
Yes.
Great.
I'm not sure if you're aware on the Lee Fork dinner that is held in Sydney every year. The whole purpose of that, it's all these Phantom fans get together and they raise funds for a children's hospital down here in Sydney as well. So
super.
It's really cool. Again, we're talking about Ireland and Australia being cousins and being on the same wavelength. It's really apparent, time after time.
That's it. Yeah, I was even saying to Dave, we went to New York basically as a networking endeavor for the last couple of years, but we would love to go to the big Australian show. Because I remember seeing you guys being really envious when you went in the Australia Comic Con. I think it's the Super Comic Con, is it?
Supernova, yeah.
That's it. Yeah. So we love to see if possible if we can maybe get a presence down there, just visit ourselves one of the years down and connect with which is the evident fan base for Phantom that's down there, you know.
Yeah, well, you're more than welcome, mate. So just with the main, well, I don't know if you call her the main villain or not, but
in Scarlet Sapphire.
And Scarlet Sapphire. Is she going to make a return?
Yes, this is something now I'll have to discuss further with Stephen Mooney, who wrote, basically created Scarlet Sapphire, and of course Robert Carey, who designed it, so they're both co-creators. I had a really cool idea for what we do, because originally the character in the script is called Scarlet Sapphire, as is essentially what is the blood diamond of what's being used in the story. And what was great was originally we had an idea for it wasn't going to be blood diamonds, it was going to be a drug called Red Lotus. And King Features requested that we wouldn't use narcotics, and I said okay. And we also had, in an original version of the script, we had included the twins, and they requested that we wouldn't. So I said okay with that then. So I suppose the twins, it's kind of like what you call it, Schrodinger's cat. They may or may not exist in our continuity, but at the moment they requested that we won't, include them into our, into our story. So we haven't. So also I had printed a previous story that Cormac Hughes, who illustrated the recap of the Phantom's origin in the inside cover. He had worked with Darren O'Toole, an Irish writer, on a story was actually Lightning Strike anthology as well, called Red Lotus. So we had already used another property that name. But once King Features said, don't do it, we swapped it to Scarlet Sapphire. And I think the intention was that the mysterious, bodyguard / villainess of the story was also by that name, Scarlet Sapphire. But it's never directly said on screen, so it's basically unknown. Now, we do have plans. I have a particular interesting plan for that character that I would like to explore. So I won't say anything now because, spoilers in case we do it, but that would only be if we get the blessing and consent and permission of Stephen and Robert, who co-created it.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, no, because I enjoyed, she was intriguing and a good villain for the Phantom to come up against.
Aesthetically and definitely aesthetically, and certainly from a characterization point of view, she has the potential to be a more complex kind of villain for the Phantom. And also, even the story revolving around the Baron, that again was also I think we definitely have crafted a more complex kind of narrative. It's not like black and white kind of villainy that we have going on here. It's much more certain areas of expectation and politics and high intrigue and the events, how Mukambi's being altering the red tape and the white collar crimes in Bengala. Like Stephen really crafted this really sophisticated story that with the Phantom you wouldn't think of like this kind of level of political corruption when it comes to the character. But again, this laid the playing field for Diana in her UN role to have, more involvement in the story as well. And so, it helped to modernize the character in a way without having to change anything aesthetically or to, include any kind of new hardware or software with the character. It was very much still the classic Phantom. It's just the situation you put him in, which I felt was really ingenious on the part of the creative team and inspiring, because it's proven that the character is still relevant in modern storytelling. Like we didn't have to in some cases of updating the Phantom, people like give him Kevlar, give him this digital apparatus, which we managed to have him in like a really interesting political corrupt and really highlight, some reality of some serious crimes like Blood Diamonds without having to change either character's persona or, appearance, which is, super.
Yeah.
No, that's it's a fascinating insight into the amount of thought that goes into the story, and fingers crossed where it could go
One
next.
character, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
I'm looking forward to getting into more of the other villains and back characters for the Phantom. And but one thing you can do, if it's a familiar enough character, you can guarantee that if we're going to introduce him, it's going to be in a big way,
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So you are thinking about some more familiar character villains in these stories coming up.
Yeah, definitely. Like I think I was either saying just before recording off, like definitely we will hopefully do something with the Sing Pirates, the Sing Brotherhood. But how we're going to do it, it's definitely not going to be just something that happens. It's going to be something that's going to happen and have consequence and have weight behind it.
Yeah.
And it was funny. I tell you this isn't much in the way of a spoiler, but myself and Dave, when we were in New York last October, we went up and we went to, I think it was Ripley's Believe It or Not in Times Square. And we went in and we seen this giant jade ship, like this huge, elaborate ship. And we just looked at each other and we're like, that would make for one badass, pirate ship. And we were just like, so suddenly that has us thinking and some ideas of what we do if we were to introduce the Sing, and definitely, it's one to, I think Carl Rowe illustrated John O'Reilly's Trouble at Sea story in the 80th anniversary, and really got a good aesthetic for the Phantom for that one. I think he meant for, it's not addressed on it, but I think it's very much meant to be the 13th Phantom at the very end. I think that's his interpretation of that character, but
okay.
But yeah, no, it's the aesthetic of that, like something like that. That's the only time I think we hinted at the Sing Brotherhood, and so definitely, if we're going to revisit, we're going to go back in a huge way,
Awesome. Wow.
Yeah, a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff for everyone to process.
Yeah.
So hopefully all good, and hopefully we can all, we're going to deliver some good stuff for you guys and the readers, and it's exciting times ahead. We're really buzzing. The more we talk about it, the more we visualize what we're going to do with it, the more excited we get with the character, and it's great to finally have this association with such a rich character and with such a rich heritage as well.
Yeah, no, it's I've really enjoyed chatting with you, talking, learning about it, getting excited. Yeah, you're not a little indie publisher anymore, buddy.
That's it.
That's it. Appreciate that. And thank you again, because I know we've been trying this for a long time, trying to sync up.
We have been talking about it for a while. Well, we actually sent Joe over to the UK so that he was on the same time frame, and thought that might help, but no.
Joe had other priorities. He got himself a girlfriend and just gave up.
No. Sure. We can forgive him for that, so.
Yeah, for sure.
But for definitely, as I said, hopefully next time, watch out for announcements, and for those listening, any official announcements you make will run past you guys as well to share with the fans over in Australia. And hopefully next time you call over, it'd be with David Williams, and he'd be able to talk about the actual creative process, the ideas we have behind it. Because for me, as much as I do get involved with like story ideas and putting together some creative teams, I'm very much the business end of things, of the boring paperwork and stuff like that. So Dave be able to come in and contribute more. Although I am tempted to do one of the 2-page shorts myself, just to exercise now creative muscle and just have my story contribution. But definitely, hopefully next time you guys will be able to speak with Dave, and he'll be able to fill you guys on some more, concrete plans and final deadlines.
Yeah, well, look, it's been anything but boring and business-like tonight, Owen. You're very well informed. You know what you're talking about, and it's fascinating to talk to you. So, once again, really appreciate you touching base with us and always being in contact. It's been fantastic, and I hope people get a lot out of this, and we really look forward to seeing what you produce going forward. Thank you very much for your time today.
All right, cheers, guys. Thank you.
All right, good on you.
So, yeah. Well, Dan, what do you think about that, mate?
That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, it's exciting for for the Phantom to be having more of a world presence. Like, we know the Phantom's got a great presence in in Australia, in Scandinavia, like Sweden and Norway, but to be able to come back in in the UK, Ireland, which it's been the mid-90s since they've last published the Phantom with Wolf, and then even with what we learned tonight about how the German publisher Danny Books are looking to looking to publish it as well. It's good to see the Phantom making a world comeback in a sense.
Yeah, and I'll be really interested to. It sounds like they're on the ground floor in terms of some sort of collaboration between Frew and Lightning Strike. Hearing that didn't quite know whether the sending Kid Phantom over is through Phantom's Vault and Renee, or Frew and Renee. So I'm not sure.
I think it might just be that they send them a box, and then when they're at all the conventions, they have some of the posters and the comics for people to buy. I think that's what it'll be. And to be honest, it's probably a good way of doing it, because it's kind of like what doesn't sell, they can kind of, ship back or whatever, and then maybe even put them in some of the comic stores over there as well. So I think it's a great idea.
Oh, look, I reckon if it can become a two-way street, and whether, I sort of asked it, and Owen, hadn't really, if Frew start picking up, Scarlet Sapphire might appear in a Frew comic at one stage. It's not going to have, even the Lightning Strike book, when it comes to Australia through Phantom's Vault, it's not going to have a wide distribution, but that'll be mostly amongst Phantom fans who know about Phantom's Vault. It'd be interesting to see how it was received in a Frew comic that went to the masses, so to speak.
Yeah, and I guess the beauty that I like, the direction I like about the exciting news about them doing a mini-series is the fact that they've got established Phantom artists like, Alex, even Mike, who's a fairly big name as well, and then they've got the local talent coming through and doing stuff as well. Yeah. I think it's a good way of doing it, because they're, fans will pick it up because, one, it's Phantom, but also because they know some of the people involved. But then also you're going to get other people that are going to pick it up because, it's done by Alex and stuff like that as well. So, very encouraged by it. I think it went a little bit longer than I expected, the podcast.
Well, I actually thought we wrapped it up about 2/3 of the way through, and then you threw a grenade in and we kept going. So
yeah, that tends to happen.
Yeah, no, it was good. One thing that I've found really interesting, and it's an interesting little red herring, or I don't know, maybe a red herring, a little thing that piqued my interest was the idea of the twins, and that in the original books that they were there, but then King Pictures said no, and that's
was that the twins, or is that the twins that I thought it was the twins about the I thought the bad girl, I thought that they were going to do twins for her, and they said no regarding that. So that's what I thought it was. So
I may be wrong. I may have misinterpreted that, but I'm not sure why KFS would care whether the villain was twins. So I assumed that was the twins, if you like. I don't know, but
I have to re-listen to the podcast.
We'll have to re-listen to it ourselves, yeah, for sure. That's the first time. I think, speaking to Owen just now, was the first time I've heard much about what King Features have said no to. So it was interesting that they said no to narcotics. I thought that they had said no to don't use the twins in that way. So there's some bit of intrigue there.
Moonstone did a lot of drugs and stuff, and I think it was episode 13, 14, and throughout some of the first arc as well. And from memory, it got a bit of bad press. A lot of people didn't really like, the designer drug and and stuff like that. So maybe there was just a bit of a bad aftertaste with what happened with Moonstone. So yeah, I wonder if but I think the Blood Diamonds is probably a stronger storyline, because it is, you know, a real problem with you know, in Africa and stuff like that. So it's
for sure.
Problem,
look, I think both of them. I can understand why perhaps they don't want to dabble into the narcotics idea, but it's every bit as much a. I think if we look into a world where the Phantom is real, I'm sure that he's battling you know, drug gangs and that sort of thing as well.
Yeah.
So it's a legitimate story idea to pursue.
It was also done in the second Moonstone annual as well, which was the crossover with Mandrake and Lothar as well. So it was done a fair few times in Moonstone. The Blood Diamonds was also done in Moonstone as well. So, me personally, if I was to choose between the two, probably the Blood Diamonds is probably I don't know. I'll prefer to read about that than, you know, design a drug by some, you know, mysterious jungle route or something like that. It's a little bit more far-fetched in my personal opinion. And that's just,
okay. See, I didn't go down that path. I was thinking poppy fields or people creating methamphetamines or something like that. So and in fact, reading Scarlet Sapphire, I actually thought that it was about, and maybe that reflects its origins. I actually thought it was about drugs. For a little while before it. Yeah.
No, it was a great interview. It presented very well. You know, learned a lot about, you know, the company. Very, very, very upfront about the issues they had as well. So it was good to, you know, kind of clear the air. And, you know, if they're shipping on the 5th of February, you know, hopefully, you know, Phantom's Vault will get them in a month or two. So yeah. That's exciting.
Yeah. Oh, and look, at the original shipment may just turn up one day. Who knows?
I reckon probably some Australian Post Phantom fan has pocketed them. We might see them on eBay in
you reckon 20 years from now there'll just be a lot of them? Fair enough. All right. Well, look, everything that we've heard tonight, we're going to summarise and put in a story on ChronicleChamber.com probably in a week and a half from now, when this is released, and you know, when we have the chance to write it. For all of your news, I was really stoked to hear that you know, publishers overseas are using ChronicleChamber.com as a source of reference. So there you go. That's how lucky you have it. That we're putting all that stuff up on there. The other web presences we have are, of course, the Reddit message board, which isn't taking off like we would like. But look, if you are keen to explore that area, reddit.com/r/phantomfans is where you need to go. Leave us a message and we'll talk about some stuff on the podcast.
Yeah.
Email is probably people's more preferred method, perhaps, chroniclechamber@gmail.com, or, of course, on Facebook, where we will... you know, we share most of the things that Lightning Strike put up when they put them up, whether it's through our Phantom fan page or on the Phantom Collected group. Twitter @ChronicleTweets or Instagram @ChronicleChamber. So make sure that you are getting across all of those, and also subscribing to the podcast on iTunes so that you can keep up with it as irregular as it is. So, Jermaine, thank you very much for tonight. It's been really enjoyable talking to, you know, someone from across the waters, and getting that other accent on the podcast. I've enjoyed that, and it was good that we didn't have too many language barriers with him.
No, the one question I would have liked to ask them, is he a hurling fan or a Gaelic footy fan? So, or is he more traditional in cricket or soccer, which is making a bit of a more popular kind of sport as well. So it would have been interesting.
He might be a more proper traditional nerd and not like sport at all.
Yeah, true. But yeah, never mind, mate. Always good. My daughter's quiet, so she's either well behaved or she's asleep, or she's shoved in some room somewhere. So I'll find out very soon.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Germ, and thank you to everybody for tuning in. Have a great time reading your next Phantom comic, and happy Phantoming, everybody.
Happy Phantoming.
Happy Phantoming.
500 years ago, he washed ashore the sole survivor of a shipwreck, and upon the skull of the man who killed his dad, he said, I'm mad, I must eradicate piracy, injustice and cruelty, and all my sons will follow me, so evildoers will believe that this man cannot die.
The Phantom.
The ghost who walks.
The Phantom.
Enemies beware, the Phantom's always there, but you won't find the Phantom